Good afternoon, Houston. Ben Ochoa back at you with another rant. And today I'm happy to say President Trump is visiting the border. King Abbot and the whole court has come with them to see what's going on. And this is a fun one for me because I understand this idea of a border wall, right? It makes intuitive sense. You got people coming across, they're not following the rules, we want to build a wall, keep them out. I understand that. But I think we lose sight of the actual problem whenever we start touching on this topic. We get into like technicals. Well, a wall won't work because they can just climb over it. But then other people will be like, well, we should just have a digital wall with like drones and other things. And it's like, well, okay, that's all true, right? But the first thing, I want to ask when I look at solving a problem, I want to do the root cause analysis, right? So what is actually happening to cause these people from Guatemala, from Honduras, from Costa Rica, from Mexico, to want to trek across deserts, mountains, jungles, in order to come here? And history, I think, provides us with the answer because, right, the British came here, the Spaniards came here, all different types of people have come here. The Anglos came into Texas when it was a part of Mexico. Why? Because America is a place where you can build something better. Elon Musk came here from South Africa. Now he's landing rockets on barges and trying to send people to Mars. This is a place of dreams. So the idea that these people from south of the border want to come here makes perfect sense. So the question then really is, to me, why can't they wait? Why can't they follow the rules? Get in line, get their visa, come over here like they should. And I think it's an extremely complicated problem, and I feel like no one really gets it right because there's a lot of levels that you got to really think about. And the first is, and I'm going to use a term, right? Structural racism. Ooh, all that really means is historical racism. People in the past were racist. They made laws. We still have those laws. The racism persists into the modern day, right? I'm not trying to say that you or I or our neighbors are racist, but just this system we live in is not perfect. A point of the country, right? If you read the Constitution, Declaration of Independence, we're trying to form a more perfect union. So I think when people are saying structural racism, what they're really trying to say is the union is not perfect. We can do more. And there's this history of racism because of slavery, because of discrimination, and it shows up in all these interesting places, and we need to do something to try to fix these things because that's the goal of every generation, to continue on the dream, making a more perfect union, making a better place. So one reason why people jump and they don't want to wait in line, they don't want to wait for their chance to come legally, is because when we set up these visa rules, they're really kind of racist. If you're from Europe, if you're from Canada, or certain other countries, you get a preference to come in. And if you're from, browner, poorer places, you don't. So the line is extremely long. And so this is a problem with Congress, really, that they can never figure out how to get along and actually fix things. And they leave the rest of us to just deal with the mess. So that's, I think, one of the bigger issues. Is just that the whole immigration system needs an overhaul. And we start yelling at each other. We start making hay out of these minor disagreements. We lose focus of the fact that people don't want to wait because the wait is exceedingly long and it's not a fair wait. You don't get the same shake if you're a hardworking person from Germany as if you're a hardworking person from Honduras. So I think that's kind of the first problem, and I think it's one we can fix. But the second one, and the more important one that we all seem to kind of gloss over, is the war on drugs. Which I do believe drugs has really won. And this is another place where looking at history is extremely informative. We tried to ban alcohol, which seems like kind of a good idea, right? Because people get drunk, they get into fights, they cause all kinds of problems. But the issue is when you ban alcohol, well, people still want it. So a bunch of gangsters pop up to sell alcohol, and then that creates all this violence and crime and other problems. And we see this exact same thing with drug prohibition. That's all it really is. It's prohibition 2.0. Why should we be surprised that drugs are winning? Alcohol won, drugs are going to win too. So the problem with the drug war, and you're like, well, how does the drug war relate to immigration and the problems at the border? Well, it's quite simple. If you go down to Colombia, right, There's two sources of funding for the conflict. One is our government, our tax dollars. Our hardworking American tax dollars are sent to the Costa Rican government or to the Colombian government or what have you. And it's done so that they can help stop drug trafficking. But there's a problem with this approach. And that's that all the people in America who are actively doing drugs are sending money to the cartels. So we are, in effect, the American working person, our working men and women. We are paying taxes to fund one half of the drug war, and then some of us who do drugs are funding the other half of that drug war. And the answer to that just seems to be to end the drug war. I don't know exactly what shape that takes, but the fact that we've empowered these cartels to create chaos and destroy these countries means that all of these people who might otherwise be willing to wait and follow these rules, regardless of whether they're fair or not, suddenly are put in a situation where they need to leave now. And it is apparently so bad, they are willing to risk walking across jungles and deserts and mountains and being harassed and having things stolen from them, all for the opportunity to sit in a jail on the border while we try to figure out what to do with them. So Trump's visiting the wall, right? And this is just another PR stunt. And the Dems will, the liberals will go out and they'll make their peace and the Republicans will yell at them. And at the end of the day, you and I will pay the bill and nothing will get fixed. And this is a real problem. So if you're going to ask me, how do we help resolve this crisis at the border? I mean, it's definitely beef up the border. We could always use more border agents. We can always use more immigration judges. But it's really that Congress needs to come in and fix these laws so that they're more fair to the reality of the world as it stands. And that we, the people, need to demand an end to this just ridiculous drug war that is destroying these countries. Because we're basically funding both sides of the conflict, whether we mean to or not. And it's an issue of straight pragmatism, of what makes sense. There's just no reason to push all of these things into the shadows and create all of this crime where it might not otherwise exist. So if you really want to do something about the border, we can argue about border agents and we can argue about the wall. But the real solution, in my opinion, is going in and fixing this drug war. Because once you get rid of that, you remove the reason why a lot of these people can't just wait for their turn in line to come here legally, work, pay taxes, and contribute to the American dream. Because at the end of the day, right, what we're trying to do is form a more perfect union, is to create a country that's better today than it was yesterday, so that tomorrow will be better than today, so that our kids have a fair shake. That's the goal. And when we yell and scream at each other, we really just don't figure anything out. So enjoy your visit, guys, at the border. I look forward to the photos and the flame wars on Twitter and other places, and the news going on incessantly about this, that, or the other. But keep in your mind, the real sources of this conflict, it's a lot more complex than what you're going to see on Fox or MSNBC or any of those other talking heads. So that's just my 2 cents. Thank you.